Well, friends of the world, Maldini, here we have the man, here we have the Mexican Santi Giménez. I put Justicio in the thumbnail against Bayern Munich. I watched the entire match between Feyenoord and Bayern Munich. It's an incredible match. It's an incredible match. It's a game that will be remembered by Feyenoord fans. First, the Dutch team to win the European Cup before Ajax. I want to mention that as well. And also in Bayern, because later we will see some data. I'm going to focus a bit of the video on what Santi Giménez is doing this season and what he did in this match, as he ultimately comes out as the hero of the game with 2 goals, obviously. But I also want to talk a bit about what the match was like. And I want to, among other things, comment on how incredible the result is. Because it's true that Feyenoord won a match 3-0 in which they practically didn't have the ball. And that has a lot to do with what Santi Giménez did. Then we'll see how he scores the first goal and actively participates in the play, which then leads to the penalty for the second goal that he then scores. In other words, it was a great match for Santi Giménez. Practically without participating with the ball throughout the match. In the end, he was absolutely decisive on the scoreboard. And he really needed a match like this. Santi Giménez, after an injury that kept him from playing for a while this season. It's true that injury set Santi Giménez back, but let's see if he can regain his form, because he's clearly far from the level of last season's top scorer. You all know that we're going to keep a close eye on this Mexican football as well, to the Mexican teams and to the Mexican players. And soon I have a surprise regarding Mexico, which I'll be sharing with you, of course. But here we have, let's analyze what the match was. Feyenoord 3, Bayern Munich 0. The match of Santi Giménez. Let's go. All right, let's go. Friends of the world, Maldini, you're going to see incredible things. You're going to see amazing things in this video, because what happened in the match is something to behold. Let's take a look at what happened in the match, because Bayern had overwhelming dominance. Well, in fact, I think that if we look at the Wyscout report, I want us to check it out now. If we look at the Wyscout report of the match, I want you to see exactly this. This is the passing map of Feyenoord. The passing map of Feyenoord throughout the entire match. It only shows the combinations with 3 or more passes. In other words, Feyenoord practically didn't combine. In fact, they practically didn't combine more than once. Not a single player from Feyenoord gave Santi Giménez more than 3 passes. And yet, Santi Giménez ended up being absolutely decisive. Look, this is the passing circulation of Feyenoord. And now let's take a look at the passing circulation of Bayern Munich. It's just that if I tell you that Feyenoord won 3-0, you probably don't believe it seeing this. Well, that's what happened. Look, Bayern, the overwhelming dominance that Bayern had throughout the entire match, from start to finish, to lose 3-0. It's clear that the goalkeeper of Feyenoord was one of the heroes. The whole defense worked really well, and the way they fell back was tremendous. You're going to see Feyenoord now with this image. I've prepared some highlights from the match, because you're going to see, for example, the intense, no, even more than that, the way Feyenoord fell back. This is the beginning of the match, right? But that's really how the match was. Here we have Newcorp with Trauner Janko, who I really like, with Esmol on the side. 2 very close lines. Height, Musa, Milambo, Belen, and Stenks. And then Paisao and Santi Giménez. I was going to say higher up. Well, higher up relatively, because this is what Feyenoord was. Look, altogether, it's true that they try to push the line a little higher. And Bayern dominating in an absolutely crushing way. Here we have another play which looks the same, but it's 2 minutes later. The same intensive retreat from Feyenoord, which was looking to break out, either to play long or to counterattack with a lot of players. Well, the perfect plan worked out for him. Because in the end, this man, I insist, because he's a player we need to talk about a lot. Santi Giménez was the crucial key man in both goals. You're going to see first the heat map of Santi Giménez's match. And here I'm going to insist quite a bit on Santi Giménez in this video, because Santi Giménez's heat map is this. Well, he had 37 actions, 15 successful, 3 shots, 2 on target, the 2 goals. But look at the actions. 1 in the area, which are 2 goals. He loses all the actions. But look at Santi Giménez's passes in the first half. Well, with this first half that Santi Giménez had, with 3 passes he made, 3 passes that weren't accurate, none of the 3 with those 3 passes scores a goal. Hey, why? And sets up the play for the 2-0 penalty. A penalty, by the way, quite a gift from Guerrero. It's a clear penalty, but it was a real gift from Guerrero. And what are those 2 plays like? Well, let's take a look at them. Now, also, friends of Mundo Maldini, this is the first one with a perfect through ball. The plan was to catch a through ball, Then he finished it perfectly. Santi Giménez. Then he finishes that ball perfectly. Santi Giménez, here he is. The ball is played through to Santi Giménez, who runs between the two centre backs, Kim Min-jae and Upamecano, and wins that action. And then he finishes wonderfully. Because he finishes wonderfully. And the second action, well, it's an action. Look. Where does the second goal start? Corner, as Bilardo used to say, a poorly taken corner can lead to an own goal. A poorly taken corner by Bayern Munich. And with that whole ball in his own area, Santi Giménez. And from here, a stampede occurs, a stampede that we're going to see. Friends of Mundo Maldini, this stampede of players. Look, this is where the play starts. And this is the play. Look at the number of players that joined the attack for Santi Giménez's run from his own area. That run by Santi Giménez. Then the play gets a little tangled up. He goes to the left side, and it's a penalty that Guerrero gives away, going in quite recklessly and in a very silly way. That is to say, Santi Giménez, who participated very little in the first half, ends up being decisive. This is the Santi Giménez that Feyenoord needs. Obviously, in the Dutch league matches, we see something different. I think he will return to his numbers. Last season, I think he scored 24 goals in the league. I have argued that he seems to me to be the most important Mexican player in European football. It's true that the Dutch league is followed less in other countries than other leagues. But for me, there aren't too many doubts. We have more Mexicans, and we'll talk about them. Also, of course, but what Santi Giménez did last season was spectacular. Key to Feyenoord's title. In this one, he's worse off. He has an injury, and the team is doing worse. In fact, Feyenoord isn't even in the top three. But while the match he had was very good, in the sense that with 3 plays, he ends up deciding the match. Then the third goal, now with Bayern pushing forward, Bayern was all out attacking the whole match. Really, they were out attacking the whole match. If we look at the 11, let's see what I also had prepared since I have it ready. Let's take a look. The 11 from both teams, well, what I've shown you about Feyenoord, the team was very defensive, and then Bayern Munich didn't show up much. Harry Kane, maybe a little more, Musiala acting as the pivot with Kimmich, but he got stuck. Viljo, definitely the best from Feyenoord, along with Santi Giménez. And in the end, Bayern Munich lost a match that almost definitively complicates their chances of being among the top 8 in this Champions League. I think that in the end, Bayern Munich is one of the main contenders for the Champions League. I have very few doubts about it. Friends from the world, Maldini, I have very few doubts about it, that they are one of the top contenders for the Champions. But the truth is that they are almost certainly not going to be among the top 8. And that makes this Champions League, I love the format, I have to say. I love the format. That this Champions League, the last match they were going to experience, is going to be spectacular. How far can Feyenoord go? Well, we'll see. He's going to need, of course, the best. Santi Giménez, this guy, but they also have other important players like Paisao, like Stenks as well, Belen in the midfield. I already said, Paisado on the left, then good defense. Janko, the best in defense, who was about to leave Feyenoord to go to Atletico de Madrid. In the end, he stayed, but, well, great collective work from the team and a great victory for Feyenoord. 3-0, an absolutely unexpected victory. Obviously, this is Feyenoord's third goal and the player, and we're going to follow him more closely. Of course, to Santi Giménez, I want us to look at some more details of what the match was like, because it was tremendous. I want us to look at, I've shown you the passes, right? I've shown you about the 2. Well, if we look at the average positions of both teams, we'll really see what it was like too, right? Here we have, look at the average positions of Feyenoord and the average positions of Bayern Munich. That is to say, the average position of all the players on the team, except obviously for the goalkeeper, the average position of all the Bayern Munich players was in the opponent's half. I mean, it's just incredible. This is hard to see in top-level football. And what's absolutely incredible is that the team that did this lost 3-0 in the match. This is football. Friends of Mundo, Maldini, that's why many times we always analyze it here. But often the result logically doesn't explain the match. 75% possession for Bayern, 25% for Feyenoord. And then, well, regarding shots, well, offensive positioning, we're going to see it here. Look, well, shots. 26 from Bayern, only 5 on target. They had a really good defense in the area, Bayern, compared to 8 from Feyenoord. And then, in offensive actions, look, only 9 offensive actions from Feyenoord throughout the match, of which 4 ended with a shot. And Bayern had 68, of which only 20, just 29% ended with a shot. With a shot, that says a lot about the good defensive work, obviously, and the poor finishing in the final third of Bayern Munich. Santi Giménez, one of his great matches, the best match he's had this season so far. Probably a hug by